I am the Guardian. We've got this.
Zodiac up!
Oh yeah!
The Tiger's Apprentice. Chances are, some of you may not have known that Paramount Plus has this new prominent animated feature on their platform. If that's the case, well then that's no surprise, since this is, of course, being handled by Paramount. And considering how they virtually neglected their last animated movie to the point of barely giving it a release, I'm almost convinced that they keep forgetting that they have another animation studio that isn't Nickelodeon.
Well, I'll see you.
Anyways, when I was doing research prior to watching the film, I was surprised to discover that this went through a bit of a journey to become the movie we have before us. What began as a trilogy of novels by Lawrence Yep, the road to turning Tom Lee's story into a feature started in 2008 when Cartoon Network wanted to adapt the first book from 2003 into a live-action, computer-animated hybrid TV film, even hiring David McGee to write the script. Unfortunately, after the announcement, nothing ever came from this version. It wouldn't be until several years later in 2019 when Paramount stepped in to give The Tiger's Apprentice a second chance. And while it did run into some production troubles where the pandemic messed up the whole world, and some decisions resulted in having this just be on streaming instead of being displayed in theaters, the team eventually managed to pull through to bring this adaptation to life. Led by DreamWorks veteran Ramen Hui helming the picture, Christopher Yost joining McGee in the writing, and one of the Into the Spider-Verse directors, Bob Persichetti, being one of the producers. So, who knows? With names like these in charge of this movie, we could have a hidden gem on our hands. So now that Tom begins his training with Mr. Who, does this movie have the eye of the tiger? Or are there better things to do than to watch a kid trying to protect a bird in a necklace? Let's find out. The story. This is the kind of film where, even if I haven't read the book, I can fully understand the appeal of adapting this into a movie. The biggest strength of The Tiger's Apprentice is the way that it takes elements from Chinese mythology and transforms them to create its own lore. In this case, the story revolves around the animals of the Chinese zodiac, who are actually thousand-year-old warriors meant to protect the Earth from evil spirits and the most dangerous one of them all, Lu. But if they hope to get a chance to stop Lu from destroying humanity, their best bet is to train a young boy named Tom, who must discover the hidden power he holds that's been a part of his family for generations so that he can become the new Guardian.
Wait, how did you know I was gonna survive?
I didn't.
Whenever it explores those components, or put a spotlight onto the more magical parts of the picture, it helps enhance the world building and give a bigger role to the Chinese zodiac, portraying them as a superhero team with their own abilities and a bit of a personality for each to play off with a dynamic of one another. They also have a big role in spicing up the action scenes to be more exciting as they ward off the spirits with their own animal powers or with their own supernatural abilities.
Whoa.
I know it's cool.
The movie does a great job in taking advantage of the Chinese theming in order to have the right materials that could create a stunning action-packed adventure. However, there is just one thing missing for The Tiger's Apprentice in order to make this a great movie. And you know what that is? Being a great movie? Yeah, as much as I love the ideas that it features and how they incorporate Chinese myths and superstitions to create its own universe, it handles them like a double-edged sword. I agree that they are the best parts of the movie, but it's like if the film is so entranced by its own ideas that it prioritizes showing them off more so than to use them in order to tell a compelling story. When it comes to the plot itself, I understand going with the chosen one in training narrative, especially if it wants to stay true to the book. But the lack of proper direction that would have given it some importance makes the execution feel clumsy and rushed. It's too excited to show off the cool stuff, so it spends little to no time to let the audience emotionally connect with the characters, or give context to why things like the Phoenix or the role of a Guardian are such a big deal. And whenever it feels like it might build onto the parts that could develop the characters, It quickly drops them to go straight into the next action scene.
You okay?
Yeah, great. Okay, I'll be right back. Get.
As a result, the elements that are the basics of making a screenplay are left feeling bland. Take away the Chinese theming, and all you're left with is the same boring Chosen One story with the same boring characters and the same boring arcs that they go through, where the protagonists suddenly find themselves in a situation where they're told that they're destined for greatness and spend the whole movie trying to understand what that means. Not to mention that there are some montages that use loud pop songs that feel more distracting, as if the movie is trying too hard to be perceived as cool with younger viewers. This is the narrative equivalent of style over substance. As much as it wants to show off all these awesome concepts and how they can be used in battles, they don't mean much without a well-paced plot to get engaged with that gives those things value. These are great materials that can make a good movie, but all this did is display them as they are instead of using them as the tools to craft a good story. The animation. Much like Tom on his path to becoming a guardian, there is a lot of potential that can be found in this film's animation. Deep within its CG exterior, there is some powerful magic within that I know is capable of doing something amazing. However, it could have used a bit more training to harness that power well. I'll admit that the movie doesn't give a good first impression during the first few minutes. With the way it doesn't know how to present its characters and have events go too quickly, I felt uncertain how the rest of the feature was going to be when it starts off on the wrong foot. But right when the first true action scene emerged after Tom meets Who for the first time, that's when it made my mood switch, and it suddenly grabbed my attention.
Your grandmother was a guardian, sworn to protect humanity. Now the duty of protecting it.
Sure, there could have been more effort in the storytelling, but when it's time to fight against the spirits or Lu, that's when the animation team gave it their all. Yes, the visuals can be fine outside of that as Tom explores the Zodiac's secrets that are hidden within San Francisco in a more down-to-earth manner, but it's during the action when all of the components get to work together to create some stunning scenes. The use of effects get pushed to the max with the fog-like presence of the spirits, and the light emanating from the Zodiac animals to highlight the supernatural elements and allow the colors to pop out more. The fast pace now gets put to good use to maintain its intensity and show how the situations can get dangerous. And the choreography lets the character animation go all out to show the characters' capabilities, while also making the most out of their powers and present what kind of fighters they are. But if I have to point out what makes the action fascinating to watch, it's gotta be the cinematography. Each shot during those moments is meticulously crafted to ensure that they can get the best angles to show off what these characters can do. And they can go complex where they add to the illusion to make the situations feel bigger, where the height of where they are fighting is taller, the villains are more intimidating, and the magic is stronger.
I'm more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
I'm gonna stay in the front line.
But throughout all the spectacles that the feature displays, I find that there is one flaw that's holding the animation back from feeling like true magic. I don't know about you, but I feel like there's something off with the designs. This is more noticeable with the human characters, where it looks like they're trying to go with that Spider-Verse-like style, but gave up halfway through and end up making the characters look unnaturally weird. There was only one time that the animation does get fully stylized when Tom first sees the Phoenix, but that only happens for about a minute, and that's literally it. It would have helped the film if they chose to go more experimental with its visuals to accommodate the designs, or pick a new design to fit more with its current CG environment, but staying in the middle of that didn't really do the overall look any favors.
Is that a dragon?
Show off.
It will be my honor to guide you.
Wait, we're getting dim sum?
There could have been some adjustments to make it better, but when the animation gets good, it throws out everything it got in order to make the Tiger's Apprentice look like an epic adventure. The characters. As the movie revolves around Tom and the Zodiac Warriors, it's safe to say that this is a more character-driven type of feature, where the charm depends on the likability of the personalities. And considering how I've already mentioned that the writing is among the film's main problems, this is very concerning. As it is a Chinese-themed movie from a mainstream Hollywood animation studio, The Tiger's Apprentice features an all-star Asian cast, featuring familiar names like Sandra Oh, Henry Golding, Michelle Yeoh, Lucy Liu, Bowen Yang, Leah Lewis, and more. There definitely are some strong talents that the movie collected, and they were able to deliver some nice performances, but they're unfortunately not enough to help make the characters feel memorable or leave a positive impact to the film. With the materials they are given, they're stuck being these typical tropes that are dull as they stand. But when they try to do a bit more with the personalities, it only makes it worse where they become either annoying or too cynical.
Do I know you, man?
No, but I've been watching over you your whole life.
Who are you?
Oh, and did I forget to mention that the dialogue is the worst part of the writing? With how the movie has this rushed nature, it often happens when the things that the characters say feel unnatural, where the discussions about Chinese magic make more sense than how they express their emotions. This is also why the comedy is flat. As it is a movie that is meant to gear towards families, the film tries to balance out the intensity with some humor in order to lighten up the mood. But again, the key word here is try. That doesn't mean that the effort was effective to make the characters enjoyable.
Mess with a tiger, you get the claws.
What? That's not a thing.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. No one says that.
Tigers do.
But speaking of those people, you first have Tom, who is the film's chosen guardian that first doesn't believe the magic stories his grandma told him, but is overwhelmed when shown that they're actually true. And now that his life has changed to become the guardian, he goes through the training needed to understand what it takes to be one, while also letting his teenage angst get the best of him that will result in the obvious mistakes you'd expect he'd do. Then there is his stubborn mentor, Mr. Hu, the tiger of the Chinese zodiac, who may not be the best man for the job, but he does what he can to turn Tom into the guardian he is destined to be. I'll admit that my favorite performance in the film has to be Henry Golding as Hu, with the way he shows that there is a heart within that tough exterior.
I don't know if I can be who you need me to be.
Your grandma believed in you. It's in your blood.
Then there is the villain Liu, who is more the typical wants to destroy humanity bad guy who is more about what she does during fights with her magical umbrella than who she is. Then you have Rav, whose role honestly perplexes me. She's supposed to be Tom's one new human friend and potential love interest, but it's weird how she randomly shows up in the most convenient moments without explaining much to why she's there or her connection to the magical elements. I'm sure it's better told in the book, but without that context, it's like the filmmakers keep unnecessarily throw her in these situations. And then there's the rest of the Zodiac. I understand that it doesn't have time to show all 12 of them in this one picture, where the film is only under 18 minutes long without the credits. However, most of them end up getting sidelined or barely show much of their personality, and the only ones who team up with Tom and Hu are Mistral, the dragon who is able to do things better than the tiger, Naomi, the monkey who is there to resolve disputes within the team and has the ability to shrink herself and others, and Sydney, the rat who is the thieving comic relief of the film. And since the comedy is not good, I think it's safe to say that he's better at thieving than being funny.
Who said kids can't fly? No.
But the fact that it doesn't show much of the other Zodiac animals highlights another problem with the film. Not only does it prioritize its own concepts than being its own feature, but there is a sense that it's holding itself back from what it can really do because The Tiger's Apprentice is less of a movie and more of a setup for a potential franchise where they want to gradually show more later in either a series or in sequels. Then again, considering how Paramount is treating the film with not much marketing and reducing it as a streaming film, the chances of a Tiger franchise are very unlikely at this point. There were some attempts to bring these characters to life and trying to make the most out of the personalities, But other than showing them in cool battles, this is not the best use of the Chinese zodiac. This is honestly a very conflicting movie. A film that is a massive mixed bag where it's hard to determine if the experience of watching this is worth it or not. The Tiger's Apprentice succeeds at creatively turning Chinese mythology into its own action-packed world, but fails to adapt that into its own animated feature. There are things that it is able to do impressively well with the Chinese-themed world building, some nice voice acting, and supply a great amount of engagingly intense action scenes, but because of the weak script and direction that caused a generic story, bad comedy, a rushed tone, and a cast of, at best, forgettable characters, it's honestly debatable if the film could be considered an okay adaptation of the Lawrence Yep book, or a wasted potential. If you have Paramount Plus, maybe this is worth seeing for yourself to check if you may like this more than I do, but I don't think you'll miss out on this if you choose to pass on this one. At the most, my recommendation is that this is worth having in the background, where you can look up when some cool action happens, then go back to your own thing afterwards. It can supply the background noise you need when things are too quiet where you are. But if you'd like my voice to be that noise, then press that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet so that you can be ready to hear me talk more about cartoons. As much as I'd love to see more original movies or new IPs be shown on the big screen, considering how The Tiger's Apprentice turned out, it does feel more like it belongs to be a streaming exclusive movie.
Wait, you don't talk too, do you?